Hello, welcome to today's session. I am Bala Ranganathan. In this session, we are going to see comparison operators. Let's jump into it. Comparison operators. Comparison operators are used in logical statements to determine equality or difference between variables or values. They are referred in logically as equal to. In TagUI, the same statement can be stated as equals to or equal to. Both means the same. And not equal to, which is not equals to or not equal to, they mean the same. Less than, lesser than, or lower than means the same from a comparison standpoint in TagUI. And then you have a greater than, more than, higher than means the same. So there are some more operators: more than or equal to, more than or equals to, both are same. Greater than or equals to, greater than or equal to. The same way, higher than or equal to or higher than or equals to, all means the same in terms of how you are putting it. As TagUI is a keyword-driven implementation, you can define any of these keywords to perform a defined comparison operation. Similarly, we have lower than or equals to, or lower than or equal to, and you have lesser than or equals to, or lesser than or equal to. Lesser than or equals to, lesser than or equal to, all three text means the same comparison. Let's see these comparison operator in action to understand more in detail. Hello everyone. In this session, we're going to see an example of comparison operators. To start with, let's fire our Notepad++ and let's get started. So we're going to see comparison operation. So first we'll see an example of comparison operators with equal to. So we'll try to compare operators with equal to. So we'll see three versions. One, variable with value, comparing variable with a value. 2, variable with a variable. And 3, value with a value. So let's look into that. Right? So we'll start an example which is a variable with a value of a type integer and see how does it work. Right? This is what we're going to see as an example. So let's get started and let's put it this way. So we'll say a little decorative statement, echo, and then we'll start. This is our starting, and we'll copy paste the same thing, which is variable with the value of a comparison. Right, so let's copy paste this, and for our understanding, let's increase the font a little bit, and let's say echo and copy paste to this line. So this makes it a little bit more clear. So let's define a variable int a, and let's say give a value as 5, right? And we'll compare int a equal to 5. Then we'll be using comparison statement. If it's a comparison statement, so we use if, which basically checks what needs to be done with the condition which you provide. So this is a condition, and this is the operator, what condition needs to be checked. So what we are saying is, we are saying it integer a, which is of a value 5, is equal to a value 5, which is a variable and the value. So we have seeing an example of a variable which is an integer a, and then value is 5. As per the syntax of condition statement, a TagUI has a little bit flaky way of interpreting it, which needs a tab for your statement. So you have a comparison statement, and with that comparison operation, which is if, and you have a statement that is whatever, if condition satisfies, if a both condition is satisfied, you provide your statement saying, hey, both, that is int a, and we provide a variable int a to display, or we say is equal to 5. All right, so this is what we're going to say. Else, let's echo both, that is int a is not equal to 5. Let's save this and just run this to see how it works, right? So let's just demark it as a line basis so that we can know what's happened. I'm going to save this one in our, and I'll say confusion ops example dot tag. So this is what I'm saving, and let's save this and let's fire our command prompt. Go to command prompt, and in the command prompt, let's go to the location where you have your, so we are in the location. So let's go and execute this statement. To do so, I'm going to just flip this location so that it is clearly visible, and then we'll basically use this place so that you have a better visibility. So what we did is we have a comparison operator, which is comparison should be stated in TagUI equal to or equals to. Is equals is basically a condition. We are checking two things are equal, and it could be stated as equal to or equals to, as we have seen in earlier. So for that, we have defined a variable integer. So we are seeing an example with an integer. So we are saying an integer variable with a value. So we are comparing integer a, so which we have defined as a 5, and we are checking whether it is equal to 5 with a statement called, with the comparison statement if, right? And if it is equal, then this statement should be displayed. If it is not equal, then the below statement will be displayed. So let's execute this and see how it goes. Say TagUI and then say comparison operator example. So this is the one we have, and let's say -h so that we don't want to launch in browser and see. So let's execute it and see how it goes. So if you have seen the example, the integer variable with value, which is integer variable both is equal, and it finished. I'll share the same example. Now statement, we have to provide space or a tab. If you don't do it, what happens, right? So let's see what happens from a parsing standpoint. Let's save this one and rerun the exact same code and then see how it happens. So if you see that, say missing indentation for echo, both int a is equal to this, and automation aborted due to the above. So TagUI requires an indentation, which is basically to differentiate between above statement versus below statement. So it requires indentation of it. So you need to give indentation, otherwise you'll get an error. Now we'll test this after fixing the indentation, and let's say save and run it all over again, right? So let's say if you've seen this have executed without any error. So in the past you got an error message. Now we don't have an error message. So let's execute the same statement with else part of it. So in this part of previous example, 5 was equal to 5, variable was equal to the value which we are comparing. So the above statement got executed. Now we want to check it. Hey, yes, we'll give a 6, so which is not equal to 5. So technically this statement should get executed. So we'll try to test this. So save this one. Let's go back and run them again. Now you see the not equal to part is 6 is not equal to 5. So this statement got executed because it did not satisfy this condition. So this is pretty helpful in our decision making process. So if certain condition is true or certain thing is equal, you execute set of statement. If it is not, then you execute set of statements. So it's pretty helpful for taking very good decision by using TagUI. Let's expand this and move further, right? So this is an example with a example of a variable with a value, right? Let's do the same thing for integer and provide a variance with respect to, let's copy paste this and take the same example, right? So let's take the same example. So in this example, we will go variable with a value, we'll compare variable with a variable. So we'll take two variables and try to compare both of them have the same value. It's pretty much same concept, but it's just like all the variations which I want to define it so that it's a little clear the concept. For that, as I said, variable, let's take two variables. I'll say, hey, int first variable, and I'll say 5, and let's say int second, and I'll say 5 for time being, right? And just update this code a little bit, and so the two variables I defined it, and let's try to compare. This is equal to happening, and we'll do the same thing with the second value being 6. So not equal to should be executed. We'll say equal values for the variables. So these are two examples. Let's save this and run this again. Okay, so we are here, so this will get executed, and we have both versions. So let's just clear it, and we'll run it again. So when we run it, so now you see that, so we have two examples, right? So in the first example, both are equal, like not equal was the one which, because we did not have two examples, so the variables are not equal. So condition was checked, compared, and then value is basically determined as not equal, and not equal to was displayed. So in the second example, we use two variables. So we have int first, which is having value 5, and int second, which has a value 5, which is basically equal. So this statement is displayed. In the second example, we basically had 6, which is not equal technically. So not part is getting executed, and then you see both the parts being executed in this case. So same statement, right? So equals or equal. So we could operate the entire example with equals as well, right? So let's go back, and in the, as we have seen in the introduction of this session, you can have equals to or equal to, both means the same. So I'll just utilize exactly the same example. So I'll say that example of equal to example, and like we can copy this, and then we can copy this across so that we are clear what we are seeing. Same thing we'll see as an example with a equals to. So right now this is equal to, and we have seen example of a variable and a value. We have seen example of a variable with variable comparison. We'll see an example of a value and value comparison, and then we'll jump into equals to. So let's take the whole thing again, copy it, and paste it back. See, and then we say, hey, equals to with a value, comparing value with value, right? So if I'm going for value with value, I don't think I need any of this. We'll directly use two values. We can say, hey, 5 equal to 5. So we'll see this example, and we'll just finish it. So let's save this and execute it and see. So we have three examples: value to value, integer variable with variable, and variable with value. So all the three combination of the same pattern. We have seen both the condition. Let's try to clear the screen and execute it again. So let's execute it and see all the results one by one. So if you see, this is an equal to example with a variable with a value, so which is basically the answers. The second one is variable with a variable, and then the next one is integer value with value, right? So we have seen both examples. Let's just, for the sake of correctness, let's update this as well with both the values here. So let's copy this. So this completes entire examples, both the combinations with the variables. And let's just execute it one more time after clearing everything, and then execute it and see how it goes. So now we have both the combinations here for both the values. So we can see both the results here, and we have not cleaned up the second part. Let's just clean up the messaging and keep it correct. Okay, So this basically completes our equal to, because TagUI is a keyword driven framework, the same convention equals to. So I'll see, we can just take the same example and update it. It should work exactly the same when you say, or when you define equals to. So let's just put it in example, copy paste, and come back here. So this is example with equals to. So your entire value or validation should be same when I just run them in terms of equals to. So it's the statement will say equals to, equals to, equals to. So I'll rather say equals to here, and in the message it should be equals to, equals to, equals to, equals to. I'm going to just forward this whole update process so that you don't have to watch boringly me updating that. So we have now updated all the values. So let's run them, and equals to and equals to, your all validation and values, or all the comparational values are exactly the same. So let's clear our and run them. So the condition operators equals or equal is exactly same. So if you really see here, it is equal and it is equals. I have put it in, and you can see all our values, which is comparational values, are exactly same, just it's equals rather than equal. So you could use both the statements, either for an operator, the operator can be used as equal to or equals to. Both will result you the same value with an integer. So let's move on, and then in the same example, let's do with a string. And here I'm not going to define all the variable values and value variable comparational aspects of it. In the string, I'll just show example of a string in terms of how we can able to perform with a string. And then you could use the same example, both like equal or equals to, for your implementation. We will see both the variants in terms of a string and integer. So let's take, for this example, let's take, so I'll take two variables. I'll say str. First, we'll do apple to apple comparison, which is a common analogy. Say first, and I'll say, hey, apple. And then I'll say second, I'll say apple. And it is exactly the same. I have already typed this. Let me copy paste this for our. The first statement will give you compared, because both apple and apple are same. So now, like, let's say we'll try to compare apple with orange and see. It should basically say, hey, apple is not equal to orange. Common analogy. So let's save this, and let's do the same way. We could implement exactly same example, and if I say with equals to, it should result me the same value. Okay, so we have both the combination. We have equal to example, so we have equals to example for the string, and let's run them together along with everything and see how strings are going to work. CLS, and I'm going to run it again. So if you can see, so you have string, example to string. So first apple and apple. So apple is equals to orange. Apple is not equal to orange, right? So the same way, this is equals to. So I did the same, and your result is same, exactly same. So this basically concludes equal to. So in next subsequent examples, we'll see not equal to or other operators. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.